Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for making time for this info session. My name is Karina. I am the event coordinator tasked with everything fired up for football related. So that's our campaign that kind of coincides with the FIFA World Cup 2026, which will be taking place in North America, so Mexico, Canada, and the US. Today's session will kind of go over our grants program that we've specifically put out for this campaign. And yeah, I'll just go through everything. Please put, as Stephen already mentioned, please put your questions into the chat if anything comes up during my presentation. We will try to answer all of your questions at the end as much as possible, or reach out with more answers after the fact. And the presentation will also be uploaded, or the recording of this presentation will also be uploaded to the grants website on the new Westminster tomorrow. So you have a reference, or if you wanted to share it with anybody, you're more than welcome to. First off, I want to recognize and respect that New Westminster is on the unceded and unsurrendered land of the Halkomelem speaking peoples. We acknowledge that colonialism has made invisible their histories and connections to the land. As a city, we're learning and building relationships with the people whose lands we are on. So this is the agenda for tonight. I will talk a little bit about what the city is doing for the Fired Up for football campaigns, or any kind of events or activations we have planned on our end. Then we'll go more into this specific special one-time intake of the grants program, the Fired Up for Football grant. Stephen will walk through the grants application website so you know how to apply for the grant, and then we'll come to any questions that are in the chat. So let's start off with the Fired Up for Football City campaign. We really like the image of the flaming soccer ball. That's why we went with Fired Up for Football. And we've been working on this for probably 1.5 years at this point, to kind of bring a little bit of the soccer fever that we expect to happen this year to New Westminster. And for that, we have a couple of activations planned. So one of the biggest chunks of our campaign will be the public viewings. We chose them because we, as the city, want to remain as impartial as possible, and also give the broader community the space to come up with their own activations and to broadcast their team's matches. So if you're an Italian restaurant, you're more than welcome to broadcast the Italian game if they make it into the World Cup. And we didn't want to take away from that. So the first couple of matches are all group stage games for Team Canada and their opposing teams. So the first one will be happening on June 12th. That's a Friday in Queen's Park Arena. That's Canada against, we don't know yet. There is a playoff tournament happening in March. So we will know then which team we're going to play against in that round. It will be either Italy, which seems to be somewhat likely, Italy, Wales, Northern Ireland, or Bosnia and Herzegovina. On June 18th, we're going to Queensborough, so we will have a public viewing at Ryle Park. Canada will play Qatar then. That's a Thursday. On June 24th, we're going back to Queen's Park Arena with the game Canada against Switzerland. That is a Wednesday, so they're all happening within the time frame of 2 weeks. And we're hoping that lots of people can come out if they don't have to work, because which is a little bit good and bad. All these games are around noon, except the game against Qatar in Ryle Park that will start at 3 p.m. And after the group stage, there's a little bit of a break in terms of our public viewing. If the greatest thing happens and Team Canada advances to the next round, we may consider trying to put on another public viewing, but that's still kind of in the air if that would happen, obviously. And then the other public viewings we have confirmed and we're planning for are on July 19th. One will be at Queen's Park Arena, and a second one simultaneously will happen in Westminster Pier Park. Again, the finale will take place at noon, but at least it's a Sunday, so people will hopefully not have to work as much. That's a good big portion of our Fired Up for Football City campaign. But we have a few extra things planned. We will be having a soccer tournament and some sort of mini fest that we're kind of working on June 6th, which hadn't been confirmed when I made the slide yet, which will be fun. It will be in Queen's Park, so there will be some entertainment, some soccer themed things. New West Soccer Club will run their Kelly Duke Memorial Tournament, and yeah, we're hoping that it will get the community together. We will have bubble soccer, drop and play on Canada Day, and potentially as an add-on to some of our other events. There will be foosball tables for casual use in all our rec facilities throughout the months of June until the mid-end of July. And we're also working on a little video gaming competition or drop and play at one of our city facilities, but that's kind of still in the works. And yeah, we're just hoping that the whole city can come together and enjoy the excitement that comes with soccer and this big tournament happening in North America. And now to be more specifically talking about the Fired Up for Football grant, which is obviously also a big portion of our campaign. This is a one-time grant for free low-barrier community activities in New Westminster. We kept it fairly broad, so you can be creative. We just want them to celebrate sport, culture, community, and somewhat be inspired by soccer's biggest international tournament. You will hear a lot of wording that doesn't mention the actual World Cup specifically because FIFA is very rigid with their licensing rules and how you can market your own event. So if you're looking into any of that, just be aware there is very strict rules around that. So we will often call it soccer's biggest tournament or the summer of soccer or Fired Up for Football. This grant will fund activities that take place in New Westminster. They have to be free and open to the public, so we won't be funding any private events. We would like to have the barriers for participation as reduced as possible. So anything that might stand in the way of somebody participating, like the less hurdle there is to that, the more likely your grant application will be funded. And all of the activities have to be completed by September 30th. So the World Cup and a lot of the city activations kind of wrap up by mid-July or just after the finale on July 19th. But you're more than welcome to plan events that last throughout the whole summer. The last thing that would be funded would be for September 30th, so nothing after that. And just to give a quick program overview, we are looking for activities that recognize and include the community. We want to foster connection and belonging in New Westminster, and also in line with soccer's biggest tournament coming to North America, we would want all those activities to celebrate diverse cultures and or soccer in creative ways. So there's not really a limit to what you could be proposing. It's just a matter of, incorporating all those factors and letting us know that, there will be a benefit for the community. And they should be reflecting New Westminster's community values. Within these activities, they may include, as I said, like we are open to creative ways to celebrate the summer. They could be sports or recreation events, so think soccer tournaments, soccer camps, probably soccer related things. It doesn't have to be soccer related. Like we're not saying like you can't include any other sport, but it is soccer's biggest tournament, so we're thinking a lot on the lines of soccer. Anything that is a community gathering or a watch party, cultural celebrations, like so many cultures are coming together under this tournament, so we want to celebrate those as well. Arts and heritage activities, so if you have anything fun in mind there, they would be funded as well. And we're also considering temporary art installations. Permanent public art is not eligible on this grant. And you're probably also wondering who can apply. Again, we're trying to include as much as possible and make it as low barrier and easy for people to get some funding for activities as possible. We will accept applications from individuals. You probably haven't seen those previously in the community grants applications, but if you have a co-applicant and you have something fun planned, we will consider those applications as well. Again, community groups are welcome to apply and are eligible. Nonprofit societies, if you're part of a registered charity or a service organization, you're eligible to apply. Religious organizations are also welcome to apply for grant funding. However, there are some conditions that apply. So no religious teachings, if they are involved in the activity, would be funded. And New Westminster-based businesses are also included in and eligible to apply for this grant. Again, there are some conditions that apply. If you are interested in more details on the lines of this, please take a look at the application guide. And again, if you have any specific questions about who is eligible, could I do this, feel free to put it in the chat or reach out to us after the fact. When can my activities take place? So I've already said that they all have to be finished by September 30th. And we have 3 specific timeframes that you can apply for. That is basically just to make it easier for us to figure out how all of it would fit into one. We assume that lots of people would want to take the tournament time as the time for their activity, but we would also fund activities that are in the warm-up, which is everything before June 11th. That's when the FIFA World Cup starts. That's when the first game happens. And we also have the after party time frame, which is from July 20th to September 30th. So yeah, even if you are not ready yet to do it during the tournament time or the warm-up time, you still have some, there should still be some excitement in the city to host fun activities or come up with art and get-togethers until September 30th. So the different grant types or the details for the grants, the overall budget for this intake is 50,000. Only cash grants will be awarded. So if you're somewhat familiar or have ever tried to apply for the regular community grants intake, you know about the city services, and we wanted to, again, keep it as easy as possible. So that will not apply. They are only cash grants. Funds can only be spent in 2026. So any funding that is applied for that would be for 2027 is not eligible. Grants are available in the following amounts. You can apply for $250, $500, or $1,000. You cannot request more than your total project costs. So if your project approximately costs $500, you cannot apply for $1,000. We would only fund the $500. And funding is provided by reimbursement only. So you must be able to cover all the expenses prior, and then you would be reimbursed by the city after the fact. So what exactly is funded? So what would you put in your budget file that Stephen will go through shortly? Examples of eligible expenses are right on this slide. So artist fees or honoraria, if you're hiring anybody to do a performance, that would be covered. when venue or equipment rentals. So think of any AV system, or if you have to book a room, you could make that, put that in your budget. Supplies and materials, so everything that you would be ordering for your art installation or your project. Marketing costs, so anything from like printing posters, if you have flyers, if you have paid social media marketing, that could all fall into this budget. Or also things like volunteer appreciation. So if you're buying everybody a little gift card for their volunteer services, that could also be eligible in this. What is not funded? So examples are listed here that are not eligible. Anything that happens outside of New Westminster. We are the city of New Westminster, sorry. And we want to have all the activities take place in New Westminster. Food for the public is also not part of the funding. You can fundraise for another organization. Prizes, gift cards, giveaway, or trophies are also not funded. So different than volunteer appreciation, we wouldn't fund any kind of prizes. Travel costs, sorry, that might have been a little bit misleading that I just said gift card for volunteers. So think more of the lines of, can't come up with a good example right now, but it'll come to me. Travel costs would not be funded either. Also, if there's any paid coaches or professional athlete development, they are not included in this grant, the funding for those. You would not be eligible to receive funding for permanent public art, only temporary installations. I already mentioned this, so city services are not funded. Or are not eligible as an expense, so permit, staffing, equipment. You could, however, use your cash funding to pay for that. Anything that is purchased before April 1st, 2026, we will not be funding, and activities that promote political or religious viewpoints. All right, and let's take a look at the timeline. So the application, which hopefully you already know, is open. We opened the grants platform on February 1st. So you're welcome to put in your requests, your applications. Today is the online information session that again will be is being recorded and will be available on the grants website. Application intake closes on March 16th. That's the last day that you can put in your application. So make sure you don't forget the cutoff. The application review process will take place at the end of March, in the second 2 weeks of March, and you would receive your funding notifications in April 2026. For this grant, as for pretty much every grant that we have from the City of New Westminster, there is a grant report. It will be due on December 1st. And you can also find more details in the application guide. And we will also, like, as time goes on, you can put in your grant report in the in the Good Grants website. As far as I'm aware, Stephen will correct me if I'm wrong on that, and we'll walk you through the Good Grants website in a bit. But that's the timeline. So probably the most important at this point in time is you would have to send in your application March 16th, and you would know if you got any money in April. And I'm gonna turn it over to Stephen now so he can walk you through the website. And yeah.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for being here. And Karina, thank you for leading us through the first half of the slides. Kim, I see you've put a question in the chat. We will get to that and answer to it at the end. It's an excellent question. Now allow me to provide an overview on how to apply for these grants. So um, we have a grant platform here with the City of New Westminster that we use. It's provided by Good Grants. It requires all grant applicants to create a profile within the platform. So you'll log in, you'll create a password, and you will be able to come back and access your applications at any time, and you'll be able to save them partway through making them as well. So you can submit up to 3 applications. This is quite different than what we typically offer with our fall community grants intake, which is typically only 1 application. In this intake, we're allowing you to apply up to 3 times for 3 different activities. To access this grants platform, please go to newwestcity.grantplatform.com, and that will begin the process for logging in, creating your profile, and accessing your application. And if you have any questions at all, you can email grants@newwestcity.ca, and I will be very quick to reply to you. Next slide, please. So if you were to go into your web browser, newwestcity.grantplatform.com, you will see here, this is the landing page that you will arrive to, and it will show you the process in which to begin creating your account. You start with your own email address, and it will help you through a process of creating your account. Next. Once you have created your account, you will end up inside of the grant platform on the Apply tab, where you will see where you can create your own application. There's information here with dates about when the Fired Up for Football Special One-Time Grant Intake opens and closes, and provides any additional information that you may need about the application process. What you need to do next is scroll all the way down to the bottom of this apply page, where you will see the open and available applications. Right now, the 2026 Special One-Time Grant Fired Up for Football application is at the very bottom. Please ignore the Residents Association application. You aren't eligible to apply for that unless you're a Residents Association. So look for the soccer ball here at the end of the giant yellow arrow, and click Start Application. The application is much simpler, much more proportionate to the amount of funding that we're offering. So if you've applied for grants before with the City of New Westminster, you'll know that this application form will look quite similar, but there are a lot more questions in the fall intake. We have really reduced the amount of effort and work that will be required for you to fill out this form. So you'll see that you are in the portfolio of Fired Up for Football. We'll ask for the name of your application, what the name of your event or activity may be, and a short description of what it is that you're trying to do. And then you will click next. You'll go to the application details. You will tell us what time, which of the 3 time frames you're looking to go into, the warm up, the tournament time, or the after party. I just want to acknowledge that in the application guide, there is an error that states that the after party starts June 20th, and it should read July 20th. But please know that if you want to start your after party early, we would never fault you for that. You're more than welcome to start partying. But we are basing applications by the time frame, and we are thinking that the after party starts after the tournament is complete. So please let us know how many times your activity intends to take place, whether it's on one date or multiple times. You can see these questions here are part of the application. What are you going to do? Who will benefit? And what the community benefit will be. These are the types of questions that you'll be asked. Next, you'll move on to your budget. And here you will decide and inform us which amount of funding you'll be applying for: $250, $500, and $1,000. And then below, there's a table where you will tell us how you plan to spend those dollars. So if you were selecting $250 and the expense type was $100 to pay for a musician to come and perform, and you can add the musician's name under additional details. You're going to rent tables for $50 and another $100 for posters and marketing. That could be your third item. That will add up in that middle column to $250. And then you can give us additional details that will help us understand what it is that you intend to spend the money on. If you need more than 5 rows, that's totally fine. You can just keep adding rows. You can also, if you want, contribute, um, excuse me. You can also add additional rows to indicate if you have other sources of funding that you think will be expenses, and just say the details will be not being funded by the grant. That gives us a sense that the city is not the only funder. It's not required to share that information with us. You aren't required to have a second funder. We recognize the volunteer hours as contribution to what you're doing. But it is, of course, helpful for us to understand the scope of what you're doing. We understand that festivals and events cost a certain amount of money. You can appreciate that putting on an annual parade does not cost $1,000. And so we will have more questions for you if that's all you're requesting and the scale of your event seems far beyond the funding that we're providing. So after you'll hit save and next, and you'll move on to the supporting documentation section. Here you have an opportunity to upload documents, whether you have planning documents, letters of support, anything that will assist us in understanding what it is, the type of event that you've already begun planning, and exactly how we should understand the work that you're planning to undertake. And after that, you'll hit save and next, and you will end up on the declaration page, which is just confirmation of that everything that you've submitted is correct in the application, and that you're willing to continue to communicate with us via email, and that you will acknowledge the city's contribution through adding the city's logo to your marketing materials and website in any event, and thank the city verbally from on stage or at any point where announcements are offered during the event. That is the process of going through the application form. And so that should be straightforward compared to other applications that the Community Grants Program has. I will be available to answer any and all of your questions. You just have to email me at grants@newscity.ca, and we will be able to get you sorted out. If you have any problems with onboarding, any problems with finding your application, I'm available throughout the week to answer your questions, and I do generally get back to people very quickly. So with that, I will turn it back over to Karina, who will lead us through the rest of the slides.
Thank you, Stephen. All right, so once you've submitted your application, we will be first reviewing them for completeness, so that will be done by city staff. A staff review committee then evaluates eligible application and makes funding recommendations. So we are putting together a staff team from different departments that will review all applications to make those decisions. We won't just be basing that on our own opinions. The application assessment, so like the things we're funding these assessments on, is there a benefit to the New Westminster community? Are there clear goals and measurable outcomes? What does the community participation and support look like? Collaboration or unique services. So does it stand out, or does it really make a big difference? Also Indigenous-led projects or efforts that support truth and reconciliation. So those are our assessment baselines. In April, staff may recommend partial funding or no funding, regardless of the amount requested. Applicants must be able to adjust their activities to fit the approved funding amount. So yeah, you might get approved for all the funding. Maybe we don't see certain expenses as eligible, or there's no funding. There might be a huge influx of applications, and we just have to look for the ones that fit our application assessment criteria the best. So yeah, you may be funded or you may not be, but we're really hoping to have a variety of different activities that the city can support and bring to life. And the funding conditions. So successful grant applicants will be asked to acknowledge the City of New Westminster as a funder in promotional materials. So that's a pretty standard thing. We do this kind of thing for all our community grants. So if you're funded at least partially by the city, we ask you to put our logo on your promotional materials. We will provide those, obviously. You don't have to come and find them yourself. Failure to acknowledge city funding may affect eligibility for future grants. So if you ever wanted to apply again, we strongly encourage you to just put our logo on your stuff, and then you will have no issues in the future. And changes to the use of grant funds or proposed activities must be approved by the community grants coordinator. So you can email grants at New West City if you have any questions about that, or if you're not sure if what you're doing still fits your proposed activity. But we're always here to help, so please just reach out and we will figure it out. There is a list of the staff advisors. So Stephen and myself are here today. Stephen is our grants coordinator, so everything related to the application website, grant-specific things, feel free to reach out to him. If it's more event-specific, feel free to reach out to me. Stephen and I talk a lot as well, so there's a very good chance that we will be speaking about things together. And if you need additional support by Jen, she previously was the advisor for the community grants application intake for this year. So, sorry. So she's also knowledgeable in how the grants platform works and what is being funded and so on. All right. That was it for the presentation. We will be taking a look at your questions now and answer whatever we can. Let's see. Okay, I'm just going to start at the top, clarifying food rules. Thank you, Kim. If we had an event, can we provide food, i.e. concession, that is funded separately but part of the event?
The answer to this question is yes. You can have a concession as part of your event. You're welcome to generate revenue for your event in that way. What you cannot receive is reimbursed funding from the city for food. So we won't tell you what your event has to be or how you have to run it. You will decide whether what the elements of your event will be, and you will put it into your application, but there will be certain expenses that we won't approve, and food will be one of those expenses. Yeah.
Okay, I hope that answers the question. Kim is typing. Perfect. All right, next question, Joy. Can we use the one we use for other city grants? I think you were referring to the application registration, like the username, etc. Is that correct, Joy? If that is the case,
Passwords.
Yes.
Yes, Joy, please do use the user profile that you've already created in the grants password. There's no need or reason to create a new profile within the system. So it will keep all the applications you've created all in one place.
Okay. I hope that answers the question, Joy. Okay, wonderful. All right. Joanna, to clarify, are the activities the city has planned 5 events with screens to watch the matches? Can the projects be carried out at the city events? So I'll answer the first question first. Yes, the 5 events that I mentioned at Queen's Park Arena, Ryle Park, and Westminster Pier Park, they will all be broadcasting the matches that I mentioned on those dates, like Team Canada and the finale matches. And please correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. Can the projects be carried out at the city events? So the projects that grants are funding, can those be carried out at city events? Is that the question? Okay. We can talk about it. If you put in an application or even just shoot me an email with like what you're thinking of, we can chat about it. There is some programming around the city events. So we're open to it. But yeah, I can't say yes or no, like categorically, like it really depends on the activation because it needs to fit in with the programming, etc. I hope that answers your question, Johanna. Let me know if that helps. Right. Just gonna go to the next question. Thank you very much for confirming. Karen, is there any events that the city will be prioritizing for these grants, i.e. soccer-related events versus others? No.
I will answer and say that we will not be prioritizing sports or soccer related events any higher than any other application. The evaluation criteria is clear, and the language in which we use, in which we say sport, culture, and community, can transcend the World Cup and soccer football itself. So um, we are interested in your creative ideas for how you would gather and celebrate these ideas. But in terms of evaluation, um, there will be no prioritizing of one specific kind of event over another. So for further clarity, in our community grants program, we have a variety of different subject areas that include arts, heritage, festivals, community wellness, environmental crisis response, sports, and childcare. And all of those are equally considered. And so this grant intake is the same. It's measured by its evaluation criteria and not prioritized by its subject area.
Okay. Thank you so much, Stephen. And thank you for your questions. If anybody has any other questions, please put them in the chat now. I'll hold on for a moment. Let me just go to my last slide for now. Yeah, again, you can find a link to the application website on the newwestcity.ca grants website, and more information like the application guide, things you need to know before you apply, you can find there as well. And yeah, there is Stephen's information right here. Again, you can find this deck. It will be uploaded tomorrow. And yeah, thank you so much for taking part in this info session. We appreciate you coming out and you being interested in applying for this grant funding. And we really hope there's going to be some really cool things coming out of the community. New Westminster has always been incredibly creative when it comes to putting things together. So yeah, thank you very much. We appreciate it.